As a Gachiakuta aficionado, I made it my mission to make sure I scoured the world for all the Gachiakuta details I can, find the root causes, and put them in video format. But what if I told you that there are mysteries that even I'm having trouble figuring out? What's going on, everybody? DomoSenpai here, and today we'll be going over the biggest, I'm talking about the biggest mysteries in Gachiakuta. If y'all are new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, make sure y'all do yourselves a favor and hit that big ass red subscribe button underneath the video. We are in the home stretch, 1,100 subscribers away from the big old 10,000. Sorry I missed a few days as I've had some serious health issues, but we back and I will give y'all the best I got for the remainder of the year, going into what I believe will be my biggest and most important year as a creator. So thank you guys for the continued support, and let's go into next year with the biggest chip on our shoulders and make this channel the coolest place to be on YouTube. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's hop right into the video, starting with the sphere. The sphere is one of the biggest mysteries in the entire series. A floating landmass that moves around in a specific route, dumping trash all over the place. What is it doing there? How did it get up here? Who sent it up in the first place? Some of the things we do know about it is that it potentially started at the ground. This is just a theory, but the tower that Amo lived in not only has a weird room that's chained off, but if you look at the top, it's as if it led to something else and was broken off. But aside from that, the sphere still stands as one of the standout mysteries in all of Gachiakuta. There's only so much that my Gachiakuta brain can theorize about this, but to even be able to trump me is a job well done. The sphere presents its share of problems, and in those problems, that leads us into our next mystery, and as the story progresses, the mystery grows even further, and that is Recto. Recto is, if not, the biggest mystery in the entire series. He's the caretaker of Rudo, who is the descendant of Canis Sherbreck. He also possessed one of the biggest keys in the series, being the Book of the Watchman series. And, not to shrug this off, but was also targeted by Tomzi to force Rudo down to the ground. Imagine having all this be in your face and not know anything about him. And before you say, well, that's just bad writing, no. All we knew at the beginning was that he was taking care of Rudo in place of his father because his father was a murderer and got sent down to the abyss. This was literally all we knew. But as the series went on, these things I mentioned began to pile up and the questions started questioning. And then to find out that Tomzi murked him and snagged the Watchman book, that was the icing on the cake that solidified his place as one of the biggest mysteries in Gachiakuta. And with how much I was talking about the Watchman series, let us segue into the founder of the Watchman series, the creator, Canis Sherbreck. Canis Sherbreck to me is also one of Gachiakuta's biggest mysteries. What started as just the reveal of being Rudo's ancestor to being a pivotal talking point of what actually is really going on with the sphere in the ground, Canis's mystique is not only that of an ancestral one, but an origin of power. Canis is the original Undertaker that was a figure of legend in Canvas Town. But as the story progressed, we found out something through Kuro that was pretty cool, but alarming. And that was Canis heading to the sphere. And in his last will, the chilling words that were written down echoed loud in my ears. Why was he trying to stop the humans? Why couldn't he stop the humans? What happened on the sphere that caused him to spiral and rid himself of the Watchman series? There's a lot of questions that we as fans have, but that just cements Canis Sherbreck as one of the bigger mysteries in Gachiakuta. Man, I've been spending most of my time on things in regards to the sphere. How about we head to the ground? And while heading to the ground, we have to talk about the boundary. The boundary is a place located between the ground and the sphere that requires access to go to and from. What lies at the heart of the boundary is what seems to be what is referred to as the Watchman, something that, based on the small bits of information we have, takes the things that are precious to you and rips them away. There's tons of questions in regards to the boundary. Who created it? Better yet, why was it even created in the first place? What is this key needed to bypass the boundary? We've only been able to deduce a few possibilities in that you either have to innately be a descendant of Canis or possess a piece of the Watchman series. But let us shift over to the other important aspect of the boundary, which is the Watchman himself. Just who or what is the Watchman? The most obvious thing that we can deduce from this is that he's one of the humanoid trash beasts. We've seen the hands that resemble Rudo's to an extent. And he's in what seems to be a fetal position, and his eyes are the same as the rings on the Watchman series. Again, it's not much that we know, but one thing's for sure, two things for certain. This is one of the biggest mysteries of Gachiakuta. And as we move to the ground, there aren't that many mysteries, but one of the most important ones would be that of Canvas Town and the symbols etched in the mural. As previously stated by our young idiot Remlin, Makaka Iko created the original barrier of no ill intent is allowed, as he was the original spellcaster of Canvas Town. But according to Remlin, he had a group of best friends, one of them being Canis Sherbrick. So who in the world are these other symbols, and just how powerful are they potentially? We all know how strong the Watchman series and by proxy Canis is, but how strong are the others? We know nothing of Makaka Iko outside of him just being a powerful entity. And to top that off, one of the only people I can think of that would even remotely know anything is our next mystery, Kuro the Info Broker. Kuro is one of the biggest mysteries in Gachiakuta, and that is a fact. There's so much that goes into who and what he is that I've tirelessly tried wrapping my head around who he could be, and I still couldn't make sense of it. He's an information hoarding shapeshifter. Yeah, you heard that correctly. But aside from him being those things, he's also been around since the beginning of the Cleaners. Not to mention, he was around prior to that. According to his memories, he's been around since Canis Sherbrick left to the sphere. How is that even possible? How has he been alive this long and not died? Who is he? Better yet, what is he? There is a lot of history potentially tied to Kuro, and that may or may not break the story, and I can't wait to find that out. But did y'all know that in the Cleaners, there is only one person who was able to get in contact with Kuro? Well, if y'all didn't know, Corvus is the only person in the Cleaners that's able to get a hold of him, and their relationship is a mystery in itself as we move over to talk a bit about Corvus. The mystery of Corvus, at least for me, isn't really him, but his Jinky. We know literally nothing about what it can do, but we've had glimpses of what seemed to be him using it. What Jinky, you ask? The one on the back of his neck. This, at least to me, is the only thing on him that makes any bit of sense as to being a Jinky, and if my theory is correct in that it helps him see the world, then we're in for one of the wildest reveals of all time. As far as who Corvus is though, I'll save that for a later video because I feel like if I speak on it now, it may come true in this upcoming chapter, and I don't want to do that just yet. The design of his tattoo adds another layer to this mystery because from everything that we've seen in Gachiakuta thus far, designs like these always equate to something far bigger than what we know. Case in point being all of the emblems we see in the Ancestry chapter, which are connected to the friends of Makaka Iko, and all of them seemingly have otherworldly powers if we take what Canis is into consideration. Which is why I'm inclined to think that Corvus has an even deeper connection to the Cleaners than he lets on to be. And with guys like Corvus who are seemingly on the side of good, we have those like Tomsy, who while they seem like they are righteous, have a despicable side that rears its ugly head every so often. One of the last mysteries I wanted to go over was Tomsy's intentions, and these are heavy story spoilers. So if you are new to Gachiakuta and don't want to get spoiled, I would advise you to skip ahead. But if not, then y'all already know what we're about to get into. Tomsy presented one of the most diabolical situations in all of Gachiakuta so far, and that was the murder of Recto, which ended up sending Rudo down to the ground. To me, Recto is the linchpin of the plot thus far, and anything involving him always adds 10 new layers to what was already a deep story in my opinion. But to get back to Tomsy, he murdered him for Rudo out of what he calls quote-unquote love. And even in that chapter, we saw a side of Tomsy that was the polar opposite of anything related to what we knew of him. A sick and twisted individual who seemingly has a past that is in relation to Rudo. But the biggest question is, what were your real intentions behind doing all of this? What is this quote-unquote love that you are talking about that you did this for? One of the biggest hints we have on this is a visual one, and that is that Recto seemingly didn't resist, as if the whole thing was just sprung on him, as if they knew each other, as if there was a betrayal that set off this entire beginning of the series, hence why it is potentially the biggest mystery in the entire series, because once we actually find out why, that pretty much closes off Rudo's journey to the sphere. But this is our only piece of information in regards to why he killed him, and side note, I'm still currently going through my reread of the series to find more secrets and things we may have missed in the series, and I think that I will make that a video series in its own right. Anyway, Tomsy, and by proxy his intentions, are some of the most baffling things to happen in the series, and for us as fans, we can't wait to get more information on what he has to offer in regards to story detail. And finally, we approach our last stop of the biggest mysteries of Gachiakuta, and that is No Man's Land and what they could potentially be guarding. One of the weirdest and most mind-blowing of the mysteries. Every one of the No Man's Lands have something that presides either within them or watching over them. According to SameU, there are 6 No Man's Lands, and so far, we've seen 3 of them. We have the No Man's Land where Rudo was first discovered, and that was host to those giant dog-like trash beasts. We have the No Man's Land where Amo lived, and we have the Tori No Man's Land where we discovered our first humanoid trash beast. The most fascinating part about this is the fact that there were seemingly unique trash beasts that we've seen in each of them. Dogs, the scorpion, and the humanoid. What makes them even more fascinating is that they are all seemingly related to Rudo in the Watchmen series. Now, obviously, this is just a theory. A game theory! But notice how every time we ended up in the No Man's Land, it either has something to do with Rudo or the Watchmen series in general. Engine first discovers Rudo in a No Man's Land protected by giant dogs. The Penta No Man's Land was home to Amo, who was the bearer of the boots of the Watchmen series and by proxy, a way to the sphere, which I had mentioned earlier. And lastly, was the Tori No Man's Land, which hosted the humanoid trash beast and had Canis Sherbrick's last will. And it was also there that Rudo discovered what we believe to be Cerberus. Again, it's just speculation on my behalf, but what if all of these No Man's Lands were built to be either places that protected pieces of the Watchmen series or places of worship for the Watchmen series? So far, we are only aware of 4 pieces of the Watchmen series: the gloves, the shoes, the jacket, and the book. Now, I'm assuming that the next piece is the pants just due to the fact that, according to Zodil, Choker Maker has to be a bearer of the Watchmen series in order to have enough power to pass it on throughout the entirety of the ground. And when we saw what was presumably the Choker Maker, he was sitting in a chair with big ass pants. Now, that would make 5 on the Watchmen series, and with the potential 6 being either like a pant or a shirt or some shit, we would have the full collection. And that just so happens to correlate with the 6 No Man's Lands. We've also had a few more hints in regards to the Rudo relation too, being that conversation between Ryo and Kuro. Ryo hinted at Kuro knowing what was really going on at the Tori No Man's Land, and seemingly Ryo knows way more than she lets on. And obviously Kuro knows what they are, but for us to get that info, it would cost. These, in my opinion, are the biggest mysteries in Gachiakuta, and of course, I could very well have missed some, but as the video states, I'm only going over the biggest, not every mystery. Anyway, if there was any information about these mysteries that you know that I may have missed out on, make sure y'all let me know down in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. This was a video I wanted to get off the checklist for a while, and it also took a while to script. I wanted to make sure I not only gave you the information, but also at least gave you my thoughts on each of them. Consider subscribing if you are a fan of Gachiakuta and are looking for a place that covers it extensively. If you are a fan of manga in general, consider subbing as well, since I also drop generalized manga videos. The goal is 10,000 subs by the end of the year, and I will stop at nothing to hit it. Thank you guys for your continued support, and the more shots we take, the more we are likely to hit. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here and edit this video. Y'all have a good morning, afternoon, or night, wherever y'all are. I'm DomoSenpai, and I will catch you guys in the next video.